Welcome to Rig on Wheels show featuring MVT, the first ever truck driver recruitment show. I am your host, Camille Gaines, the CEO of Rig on Wheels, and joining me is Robert Pearson, the VP of recruitment over at Mesilla Valley Transportation. We are your ultimate destination for trucking industry news, tips, hot jobs, and we're here to make history. Robert Pearson, go ahead and introduce yourself. Tell us a little bit for anybody that's this first time watching us.
Yeah, happy to be on here September 19th. This is Robert Pearson. I'm VP of Recruiting with Mesilla Valley Transportation. Presently at the wonderful Staybridge Suites in Denver, Colorado, where we're doing a driver appreciation thing here at this moment. Basically, I work overseeing a wonderful team of recruiters to try and place you in the right opportunity to be successful, work with Rig on Wheels to find the best candidates possible to fill those positions. And it's a partnership that ultimately makes drivers happy in the long run as they have long-term success with a carrier that sometimes can be difficult to find on their own.
Absolutely, absolutely. Okay, so what we're gonna do is like jump right into the news, but I know you got some different type of news for us this week. Let's get into some good MVT news.
Yeah,
So,
absolutely. As we've been talking about, the cost of fuel is going up, which has been a challenge here. It's now well over 455 and continues to rise. But we have 8 different divisions that average about 9 miles a gallon or better. There's people in the industry that think we're lying about that number, but we don't. We're obsessive about fuel economy. And the reason why that matters to a truck driver is once you buy the truck, once you pick up the freight, the only other 2 spots where you can save money is on driver pay or on fuel economy. We aren't going to cut driver pay. That's not going to happen. And so we generally focus on fuel economy. And a lot of that's led by our drivers. We focus on it every which way to Sunday. And so with 8 different divisions having more than 9 miles a gallon in an industry that averages about 6.5 miles a gallon, sometimes closer to 6 in the world of flatbed or over dimensional loads. But 6.5 is the going rate right now for most dry van and reefer companies. To have divisions, not just drivers, but divisions average over 9 miles a gallon, that's a huge metric for us to hit. And the biggest contributor to that is our drivers' behavioral patterns. Do they hard brake? Do they pre-plan? Do they drive in a defensive manner versus offensive manner? Makes a huge difference in that fuel economy. And so of our 13 divisions to have 8 of them over 9 miles a gallon is very exciting for us. And kudos to our 1,830 drivers that make that possible.
that's good. Okay, so I know that those are the reasons why they that's possible at MVT, but why do some of the other carriers think like it's not possible?
They do focus on MPGs, but part of it goes into equipment and part of it goes into that driver behavioral trend. And so the problem is, and we've talked about this on the show. A lot of drivers want to turn the speedometer up, hate having a truck that's governed, but there's advantages to it. In a world where you're going coast to coast, you might lose something on that. But when you're more of a regional, routine lane kind of carrier, you're able to maximize where you're going, what kind of fuel economy you're getting. You're able to maximize the hours that a driver has available on their hours of service. It makes a considerable difference. So if you're a carrier that's irregular route, meaning you go every which way to Sunday, and really the rate doesn't mess with you as far as where you go, you're just trying to get miles, your MPG suffers because of that. So there's certain carriers, XYZ Trucking or something like that, that just quite frankly, it's such a large difference in fuel economy that it seems unfathomable. But I always compare it that, look, you could take a regular Joe off the street, and if you try and compare his wallet to, say, Mark Cuban or Jeff Bezos, the guy on the street probably doesn't think that's very realistic. But in their world, if you're Mark Cuban or Jeff Bezos or some billionaire, all of a sudden $1 billion seems very realistic.
You know what? So I want to kind of like add all this stuff up together. I heard something and then kind of heard a pattern. And instead of going with the negative, which sometimes I like to do. So I'm gonna go with the positive with it, right? So you all don't want to, you all being MVT, you don't want to decrease driver pay. You want to keep the trucks governed. That because of that, of course, that helps with the safety, what helps with profitability, and it seems like you trickle that down to the driver, which i.e. helps keep their pay up. So that's the reason why the trucks need to stay governed.
Yeah, absolutely. Look, most drivers think I want to have the truck go as quickly as possible. The safety element's a problem, but beyond just the safety, the math doesn't add up. There's not, unless you're able to go 100 miles down the road,
Right.
you will not win the game by just being the fastest person on the road. You have to be much more strategic than that. You have to think about it. Our average length of haul, depending on the division, approximately 400 miles. Some divisions are less, some divisions are more, but approximately 400 miles. So what you lose on 3 or 4 miles an hour, you easily make up for in what you're getting paid at the end of the week. Again, the your speed does not matter unless you're like doing 1,800-mile length of hauls, and even then, those people don't make that much money. I can think of a carrier right now that their average length of haul is 1,800 miles, and they don't govern the trucks. Their experienced drivers make 32 cents a mile. If you're an experienced driver that has driven for 10 years, 32 cents a mile is really, really bad. But yeah, you can go 75 if you'd like. You can go 75 miles an hour down the road, but you're making 32 cents a mile. That money's going to their fuel.
Absolutely. And that's the reason why. And it's sometimes we don't want a driver to have to be a mathematician, but that is the reason why the cent per mile is so low like that. Is because of the profitability. It's just kind of what it is when it comes to that. Okay, well, with saying that, we can go to definitely, Lissa, take us to our first commercial, whichever one of your choice that you would like to do. Definitely take us to our first commercial break, and we'll come back. Welcome back. Thanks for coming back, everybody. So, what I want to do is we had a few questions left over from last week and some questions, some new questions to come in. So, I wanted to sprinkle them in through this time. But if we could definitely make this a part of a question answer segment, that would be great. So, Lissa, if you can go ahead and jump in with a question, that'll be good.
Yes. So the first question is going to be, how long has MVT been in business?
Yeah, we've been in business now 41 years. A lot of innovations taken place over that time, though, but founded with 5 trucks 41 years ago, now sitting at approximately 1,600 units and customers that we've had going on 2, 3, 4 decades in a couple cases. And so it continues to be strong and growing. And 41 years in business, though, celebrated our 40th last year, and looking forward to our 50th anniversary here in about 9 years.
Awesome, awesome. That's some good longevity right there. Okay, Lissa, you got another
Nice.
one?
Okay. So the next one is going to be, can you tell us some of the financial stability at the company?
Yeah. So whenever freight goes bad, a company being financially stable becomes really important. You don't want to be at a company that gets sold necessarily. It does happen through no fault of anybody's own, but you don't want to be at a company that's necessarily being sold. The second piece of that equation is you want your company to be profitable, because when a company is not profitable, Companies are forced to make a lot of short-term, knee-jerk, reactionary things happen so that they can survive. Generally, it means the driver is going to suffer because their equipment's going to age and not be renewed. It means the driver, as an example, may look at potential pay decreases, or if they don't get pay decreases, it may mean that they're going to have certain APUs or perks that are taken away. We're actually profitable right now. Despite the current freight environment, we are profitable. We are not making money hand over fist. That is definitely for sure. We feel the impacts of the slower freight market like any other carrier, but that's where that MPG savings comes into play here. We are profitable, even though it is not necessarily a good time in trucking. That means we're not forced to make some of those short-term decisions, and ultimately allows drivers more security and planning for the future, which in the world of trucking is a very nice luxury to have.
Did you have anything else, or did you want to wait till a little bit later, Lisa?
I can do one more.
Okay.
Okay. So could you tell us a little bit about what you know about Royal Jones?
Yep.
The owner.
Founder of the company, Royal Jones, great guy, still actively involved in the business. Does not look anywhere near his age, but he is actively involved in the business. Physically talks to driver. He's a former driver himself. He was excited when he started MVT those 41 years ago because he wasn't on the road constantly. He was working 18 hours a day out of his house, but he wasn't on the road, and so he looked at it as a vacation. He's still actively involved in the business. Takes a lot of pride in some of the accessorial type businesses that we have in the larger organization. But his passion is trucking through and through. He tries to talk to drivers constantly. His most exciting part of his job, probably the driver appreciation. Obviously, you give away a car every quarter, that does help. But he loves being out there and surrounded by the drivers, knows the drivers on first name basis. He takes a lot of pride in the fact that we're a driver-centric company, and just passionate about it. And that's the nice thing, too. In somebody that leads your company, I'm not saying that having somebody in a suit and tie leading your organization is the worst thing in the world, but we're not running a bank. We're not running a mortuary. We're not running something that requires that. We're in trucking, and we have a trucker that leads our company through and through. And so it makes a huge difference in the decisions that we make and ultimately where we go directionally as a company.
Great. I also wanted to piggyback on the second question. Can you repeat that question again?
Yes. Can you tell us about financial stability at MVT?
Okay, so when you talked about the financial stability and how important it was during this time, and of course, nobody's making hand over fist, but it was important to be profitable. So another thing is to make sure that you have the proper driver. The more professional driver, the one that communicates the better way. And you and I were just talking about how the retention at MVT is just getting better and better. Can you explain that a little bit more of how the morale and camaraderie is changing, what you kind of see on your level?
Yep. We hire good drivers, and why that matters. You do not want to go for a company. If you are a good driver, you do not want to take your skill set and expertise to a company that hires anybody that pops up at the front door. It will not work out well for you in the long run. Those other drivers, though you may not know them, represent you on the road too. So when you go to a shipper, as an example, and they roll their eyes and sigh because your truck rolls in and you can't figure out, why don't they seem to like me? Well, they've probably interacted with the 50 other drivers from your same company. Hiring quality matters from that standpoint. From a safety perspective, those other drivers that aren't safe influence your safety scores. So when you're being stopped at the weigh scale constantly, or you have a DOT officer constantly wanting to give you an inspection thinking they're going to find something, that's influenced by the other drivers that have been hired on at that fleet. Thirdly, camaraderie. You want to be able to work with your coworkers, be it driver, fleet manager, any other department within an organization. You want to be able to trust that the driver you're talking to is astute and has business acumen. If they don't, you're getting advice from people that don't know what they're talking about. So it goes into our hiring practices. We hire drivers that are experienced, that have safe driving records, safe and stable work histories. So you're coming to a company that if you are in our orientation, A, you most likely are not going to be asked to leave. We've confirmed you belong here.
Mhm.
Two, you're in a company that represents you, your fundamentals, what you believe in, your morality as a driver, as an example. So it does matter what the other drivers do on the fleet. They represent you on the road. They are a representation of what you stand for in your career. And so we focus heavily on trying to hire the right drivers so they can long term be successful. And when things go wrong, because this is trucking, things are going to go wrong no matter how much you plan. Do you have drivers as well as our fleet managers internally to have the trucking business acumen to be successful?
Yeah, and the reason why I definitely wanted to bring that up because earlier today, speaking to one of the Rig on Wheels recruiters, Nimmer, that is exactly what we were talking about. How more and more we're seeing more MVT drivers after because once we get a driver placed at the companies, we're not just hands off. We actually try to talk and text the drivers to see how they're doing a week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks after. And the drivers more frequently now seem happier because companies are trying to pull back the bootstraps because they want to be more profitable. Right now, freight is different. We are kind of in a flux situation. So it just makes sense. Just kind of when things are in an upset in the economy or however you want to say it at your home, you're kind of pulling back the bootstraps a little bit. It's the same thing with any business, but in our business, it's trucking. So it's literally happening like that at the carriers. So with saying that, carriers are wanting the more professional drivers, the ones that's going to make sense, represent them the best at the yards, at the shippers, the face of the company, because the drivers are literally the face of the company. So want the cream of the crop within their industry, within whatever they're hauling, dry van or reefer or whatever it is that you're hauling. So Nimmer literally was seeing that. I had been saying it, but it's really good to actually, when I had the conversation with her, she actually said it to me first, and then we were able to talk about it. So that's what made me bring that up. So that's good. We had a question that last week came in, but it came in the 11th hour when we were already wrapping everything up. But I believe it was because the not caller. I'm aging myself again. So what do we call them? Listener, viewer, something. Um, if it was earlier in the show, somebody on LinkedIn asked this, and then later on, somebody on Facebook asked similar about temp agency. So Rig on Wheels is a third-party recruiting company. We're not a staffing company as far as it's a very good question. We get it all the time, so don't think anything is wrong with asking this question. We're not a temp agency. So it's not as if when we recruit you, you won't be working for us. That's the reason why we ask all of these wonderful questions, is because our goal is for you to go on directly with MVT or one of the other companies. So we ask all of these questions to make sure that once we submit the application to MVT in Josue or Joshua, which is the same person, just depends on which name you want to call them, that he's able to go through your application and it moves more swifter. And even if that job closes, then you and him know which division you'll be more likely to qualify or want to go into based on your needs and wants for your family. So that's what that is.
Now, here, if you go through MVT with any company that says temp agency, we don't use temp agencies. The challenge that comes when you're a temp to hire is I don't really have an investment in your future as a temp. If you work out, if you don't work out over the course of that temporary portion of it, I don't have investment or interest in your success like I do the person that works for me as an employee. If I'm a driver, I'm much rather go place me with a company that I can feel at home and that they care if I succeed or not. With a temp, I don't have that motivation. If anything, when I get enough work out of them and we come up to the do or die time where there's a buyout, I'm going to get real selective. And I'm not necessarily, I have a financial interest that can be somewhat short term, meaning I may go, you know what? I don't have to pay Camille here. If I go ahead and just cut bait, maybe you come back to me down the road. I'm not saying all temp agencies are like that. And I have seen environments where temps do well, especially when you have short term contracts. Then I think the temp model does have some benefit in short term contracts. But if you deal with anybody at MVT, no, we only work with people that are doing permanent placement. Rig on Wheels, of course, is a preferred provider of that for us. And you want a company that is going to hire you direct like that, because right off the bat, they have a financial interest in your success.
Yes, thank you. Absolutely. And that's why I wanted to clear that up, because we do get that question quite a bit. All right. So let's go ahead and go to the other commercial let's do the commercial with DeAnthony, one of our favorite drivers, Lissa. We'll be right back with a hot job.
Mi nombre es Carlos Vázquez, tengo trabajando 3 años aproximadamente y somos B1 y andamos en territorio Estados Unidos. Lo que me gusta de MVT es que tiene buenos viajes, buenos camiones y muy buenas millas. Mi comunicación con el despacho es muy buena y todo eso, y siempre están a la orden del día. ¿Qué pienso del equipo de los camiones? Pues que están muy bien y les dan sus mantenimientos, sus PO y todo lo demás, alineación y balanceo, todo, cambio de llantas y excelente servicio. La compañía cada trimestre regala un auto para los operadores. Me motiva pues a crecer más como persona y pues, para dar el 100, como dicen, para la compañía.
Coming back. So since we played the commercial talking about how my husband is going to win me a new car, I want Pearson to talk about that. Then we'll get into the hot jobs after that one. So Go ahead and let's talk about that.
Well, Carlos Vasquez is one of the winners of this year. He's a fantastic driver and a great representative of our company. Like we talked about earlier, fuel economy is a big deal for us, and we want to reward those that reward us. So what we do every quarter, whoever has the best fuel economy, we give them a brand new car, normally a Nissan of some sort, it's Sonata. Depending on what's available, though, we're going to give you a car that is brand new, has less than 100 miles on it. It is a new spanking car. The way you get that is by leading our drivers and having the best fuel economy in the fleet. Last quarter, a gentleman named Ray won it. Ray's been with us for a while. The quarter before that, somebody who'd been with us less than 2 years had won it. And so it varies depending on experience, and it rarely comes down to behavioral patterns. We track it very closely via the equipment in the truck, and our drivers ultimately are the reason that we're able to get that. Ray won it with a 12.6 miles per gallon. Wow. 12.6, but he's done it. Was not always like that. A year ago, he was averaging close to about 7.5 to 8 miles a gallon. He worked at it and he practiced at it, and he worked with his fleet manager and the safety department to try and refine his skill set, as well as our equipment team, to make sure he had the most optimum piece of equipment to reach those goals. Sure enough, he hit it. Good for Ray, and I'm excited about next quarter. In December, we'll award it again for the next quarter, and again after that in March of next year. So every quarter we do it, brand new car to whoever gets the best fuel economy. If you don't hit it this quarter, you're always eligible to work on it and be available for it the next quarter or the quarter after that. Additionally, whoever gets the best fuel economy for the year, though, gets paid $25,000. In some cases, it's been one of those people that won the car. In other cases, it's somebody that didn't necessarily lead the team one specific quarter, but over the course of the year led the team and got the $25,000. So it's something that's a little bit different. Camille obviously wants to see the new car in her driveway. I personally want the $25,000. Tomato, though, you aren't a loser in that situation. That's a pretty good deal.
Mm-hmm. No, I kind of want to see the new car. I want to see something tangible. That would be nice. That would be nice there. But one of the things that I really like, other than just the 25,000 or the car, neither one of those are shabby. But what I like is that what you're saying, MVT actually will coach and help the driver increase their chances of getting the car.
Yep.
That's the part that's the best.
And
to
we'll
me.
customize it to the driver, because some drivers, it's really about practicing defensive driving skills. That's where the Smith system comes into play. Other drivers, it comes down to pre-planning. They're safe drivers. It comes down to understanding when's the right time to go into a city. When do you want to start? When do you want to look for parking? There's some divisions that are mainly night driving, like Division 400. We have other divisions that allow you the freedom where you're like, you know what, I want to try and get a start to the day about 4 a.m. so I can get truck parking by 4 p.m. before it's hard to find a space at a truck stop. Those little things add up over the course of a quarter or a year. And so we work diligently with our drivers to find the solution that's going to be best for them.
That's smart. Stuff that I never even thought of. Yeah. No, that's smart.
I can tell you, to hit 12.6 miles a gallon, you got to hit a lot of things right.
Yeah, you got.
I quite frankly, a year ago, did not think that was even possible.
Yeah, that's a lot. On average, do you know? I mean, if not, that's fine. But only because I'm thinking now. On average, what do they normally hit to get the car?
To hit the car, I think it's generally been around 11.4, 11.5.
So
Roberto Sandoval had it at about 11.5.
Yeah, that's a difference. That's pretty large. Oh wow.
Yeah. It's impressive too. And Ray's a great guy there. You'll find a lot of those folks that hit that MPG bonus. The thing that's the common denominator between all of them is if I gun to my head, describe them in one word, it would be professionalism.
Like that. We keep that's a common thing that you and I keep talking about, is that word for the drivers. That's pretty awesome. A real good dedication though, and coaching. Yep. Okay, so Lisa, what I do want to do is go ahead, one of our favorite drivers at Rig on Wheels, play his commercial, and then we'll jump into the hot jobs.
Hello everybody, I'm DeAnthony Davis. I'm a truck driver from Cleveland, Texas. I've been driving for 3.5 years now. I recently saw a podcast with Rig on Wheels on YouTube. I gave them a call. They was fast, they was efficient, they helped me out. I didn't really want to be over the road, so they got me a good reasonable job. And hey, you should give them a call.
Welcome back, everybody. Thank you for coming back. So I know you got a few of them today, so we're excited about that.
Yeah, we got a couple of them to go over there. DeAnthony, good to see that commercial from him. I know he was very popular in orientation down in Laredo, Texas. They were excited to have him come aboard there, so I'm excited to see that commercial. Very well done. Let's talk about Division 10. So Division 10 is kind of a unique one. I have a lot of different markets I can hire for it, and it lets you get the best of all worlds. So if you come in and it's not really 4A specific, that is where Division 10 comes in. Division 10, basically, we use as a flex capacity, flex drivers, to where, hey, I have more freight in this division than I do this division. Let's have these folks go run over in this division. It requires a driver to be out a little bit longer. They're out 10 to 14 days. As a driver, the benefit of that division, though, is you're always moving to where the freight's hot. You're not locked into one specific division. So if it's this division and it starts going down, you can come in and this division's going to pick right up. You're moving to where the freight's hot. From a consistency in your paycheck, it works out very well. And you have very few valleys in terms of the freight that you're running, because you're always going to where the freight's actually moving best. So it's kind of one of those things I call an insurance for your wallet. You're going to the money every single time you leave the house. So that's one of the divisions. Nice pay on that. Generally going to average about $1,400, $1,500 a week. Really good division for somebody who's less experienced in the industry and looking to get your teeth cut in this industry. Really nice division to get a wide variety of opportunities. From one week you might be doing mountain driving, another week you may be working in the Southeast. Get a lot of variety before you ultimately set into the division you want to go to. Additionally, we have a division called Division 110. I need teams. It could be a husband, wife. It could be a brother, brother. It could be, hey, I want to partner with my best friend and go on the road. We need teams out of Dallas, Fort Worth, Albuquerque, El Paso. Those three markets are where we need teams currently. Have a lot of opportunity. It's going to have you going into the Southeast, Midwestern U.S., down to West Texas and back up again. So again, if you live in Dallas, Albuquerque, or El Paso, it's a job that's going to pay you well. You're going to be averaging $80,000 to $90,000 a year as a driver, not as the team. So the team's generally averaging anywhere between $160,000 to $180,000 a year. As a husband and wife, $180K a year is a nice paycheck to bring in as a household. But if you got somebody that, you know what, you both have been on the road, have driven separately, and want to hang out and really trust the other's professionalism and skill set, something to think about running team. Really good money right now. And we've gotten into the conversations about how you start making bigger paychecks when you do things that are specialized. That's one of those. That expedited freight pays really well. And ultimately, drivers do very well financially with it. Again, we don't require any hazmat endorsement. We don't require TWIC cards. You don't touch the freight. In that case of the teams, we're just running miles.
I have a question that'll fit both of those. So now, 0-10, I know they're only out 10 to 14 days, but we'll have a driver that'll say, okay, 10 to 14, but that's fine. What if I want to stay out longer?
We don't gain that much from that. So with the nature of what we do and the engineered lanes that we do here, there's not a lot of advantages for us to not get you home. So we have that a lot. I have drivers go, hey, what if I stay out 6 weeks at a time? We could in theory, but generally we hire from places that we run freight in. So if you live in, I don't know, Dallas, Fort Worth, as an example, we will have freight going into that market. We will have freight coming out of that market. Us having you spend the night in some random truck stop in Pocatello, Idaho, or Paducah, Kentucky, doesn't really benefit us that much. And that's kind of the beauty of the engineered lanes. I'm not running all 48 states. I'm not relying on broker freight to send me to the middle of nowhere to go money chasing. Literally, we're keeping you in very set engineered lanes that you're going to run over and over again. So the fact that you'd like to stay out 6 to 8 weeks at a time is cool, but we're not really set up to take advantage of that. That's part of why we're able to give people the home time we give them, because we're hiring from markets that we have customers based and operating in.
Okay, and that'll be the same thing for teams.
Yep.
Okay, just making sure. Okay, and are those the only two hot jobs you want to talk about?
We have other ones right now. We have another one that's coming down the road next week, but I can't talk about it yet. But like I said last week and now this week, give us some time here. We have something coming next week I can talk about.
Okay.
It's good. It's very good. Something regional. If you live in Texas, you'll really like it.
Yes, we will. We definitely really will like it. Okay, so what I wanted to do is, Alyssa, did you want to ask another question?
Yes, actually, there's one more. And a couple people asked, so how do you encourage driver participation in healthy lifestyle living?
Oh, that's a good one. Let's go.
Two things. We have a partner in that, but before I get into the partner in that, part of it is the lifestyle that you live. This is the other reason why that home time becomes really important. Your ability to know when and where you'll be at home becomes very important, because you're able to plan out, hey, I'm going to be out 6 days, so I need to plan my diet around that 6 days that I'm gone. Or, hey, you know what? I want to have a gym membership while I'm at home, but it didn't make sense before because I was gone all month. So why have a gym membership at home if I'm never going to be home? That's the first thing about it. Our jobs allow you to have a steady lifestyle, a steady pace, so that gym membership becomes more realistic when you're at home. You knowing I need to bring out some meal prep with me, which our trucks are set up for so that you can do meal prep. allows you to know I need 6 days supply or 4 days supply, whichever division you're going into. It allows you to plan around and to have a diet that's healthy instead of eating Taco Bell every day, as an example. The second part of that equation is we work with a company called Rolling Strong. They've now been doing this over a decade at this point in this industry. They're great for nutritional advice. They're great for workout plans on and off the truck. They're great for health advice on, hey, I have this issue. Should I still exercise? They can answer a lot of that detailed stuff that's very individual specific. We have a woman named Claudia that works with us, oversees our Rolling Strong program, have a lot of drivers that are active and talk to Claudia at least once or twice a week. It's always available to you. So between the type of job as well as our partnership with Rolling Strong, it gives drivers a leg up on that. I will also point out here anecdotally, I've not gone out and measured waist sizes, but you'll find if you meet most of our drivers on the road, they're in really good shape. And a lot of that comes around that lifestyle and that schedule.
Yeah, absolutely. And then, to be honest with you, we are technology people in the digital age. You can use your Google. You have your Instagram, all of these platforms that we are on. Your trailer is long. You can run around and jog around it, do strength exercises or just things like that. You have a truck that is pretty maintained, all of that. And so you're able to bring food and cook decent meals in so you can be able to maintain a healthy lifestyle on the truck. Nobody says that you have to be in super shape and have this extremely vegan, super clean lifestyle, but definitely where you're not eating junk at I don't want to just put all the fast food joints, but all the fast food or the truck stops and everything out there. You definitely want to fuel your body so you can feel good and on the road, because being sick and everything on the road, we hear about it all the time.
Meal prep matters, and being able to have plugs available in the truck, to have a refrigerator going or a microwave going, becomes really, really important. Look, we're going to talk about, I love Nachos Belgrande. Nachos Belgrande to me is a great meal. It is not an everyday meal. That is not something you want to have every single day. It becomes a once in a while thing. And so your ability to be on the truck and say, you know what, I'm going to eat healthy. I'm going to have some lean ham and I'm going to have some potatoes, or I'm able to lay out a well-balanced diet becomes really, really important. The diet's the biggest part of that. You have some days that are real predictable. You have other days that are not. Your ability to have access to healthy food and snacks becomes really important. That's why we set up the truck the way that we do. Multiple plugins there so you can have multiple devices going, ultimately helping you lead that lifestyle.
Yeah, healthy lifestyle. Just make smart choices, substitution choices. And so even if you're not really used to it, utilizing that. One thing that we do on the weekends with Rig on Wheels is on our social media, we promote different recipes. And they're really quick. Most of them are not more than 5 or 6 different ingredients, just something quick to be able to whip up in your truck. It's nothing complicated or whatever, just to be able to have a good lifestyle, a better lifestyle, substitution. Yep. I can't even, because one thing we hear a lot of as being recruiters are drivers that can't pass the DOT physical because of being on a truck and not making the right choices, and you don't want to stop your living or that be jeopardized, not because of anything else but a diet. That is definitely something we can control. So
absolutely.
We definitely try to help you out in that manner. So with saying that, because we talked about the truck, I think, well, why don't you talk about the truck a little bit more in depth, and then we'll get into the commercial about the truck.
Absolutely. 2019 and newer. We don't have many of the 19s left, so it's going to be pretty soon where I'm saying 2020 and newer. We still have a couple hundred of the 2022s to bring on, but your average age of truck with us is going to be about 1.5 to 1.2 year and a half to 1.6 years old. Well-maintained equipment, comes with a nice face guard on the front to protect it versus animal strikes, has an APU unit that allows you to stay comfortable at night as you're sleeping. So as an example, if you're in Dallas, it has anti-idling laws. For some people, that's an issue where they're having to pay $25 to $30 a night for idle air. For us, it's not a problem because the APU just keeps working and you have air conditioning. It is a nice stand-up sleeper, 71-inch compared to the normal regional truck that would be 56. So you're able to stand upright, you're able to move around. All the trucks, even if you're a solo driver, are spec'd out for teams. So you have plenty of space in the trucks. You have security blankets, so security screens and curtains, so you have privacy when that time comes to sleep. And most importantly on that equipment here, it's reliable. It will get you from point A to point B. Our relationship with Penske determines contractually that if anything does ever happen to your truck, they have 6 hours to get to you and have that issue resolved, or have you in another truck so that you're taking that load going down the road. Another benefit of the engineered lanes that we have as well. Really nice equipment, probably really impressive when you compare us to some of our other regional-based carriers. Most of the time, if you hear us referring to the trucks, we call them the Blue Beasts. When you see the commercial, that will make more sense.
Yes, and I definitely want to roll that commercial, because I always like to point out that the guy that's kind of going through everything is not short or anything. So when you're looking inside the truck and the condo, you're able to see all of the space and all of that and moving around. So definitely, Lissa, if you can definitely roll that commercial, that would be great.
At Mesilla Valley Transportation, every driver is behind the wheel of a late model International LT, a truck that takes comfort, convenience, and safety to a whole new level. Join us as we explore the impressive features of this powerhouse on wheels. The open road is full of surprises, and sometimes that includes unexpected encounters with wildlife. But worry not, the International LT has you covered. The front end protection guard offers an extra layer of defense, protecting you from animal strikes. Drive with confidence, knowing that you're shielded from the unexpected. We all know how important it is to keep our batteries charged, and our International LTs have your back. The Cummins X15 is equipped with an auto start feature, ensuring that your batteries are automatically recharged when they run low on volts. It's a seamless process that keeps you powered up and ready to hit the road. Disc brakes and an engine brake provide reliable and safe stopping power when you need it most. You can have peace of mind knowing that you're in control. Safety is at the forefront of what we do. Our International LTs are equipped with top-of-the-line safety features to ensure your well-being while out on the road. These tractors are equipped with Bendix fusion protection, collision mitigation, and lane departure warning. Achieving good fuel efficiency deserves recognition. With the International LT, your efforts don't go unnoticed. When you consistently achieve impressive miles per gallon, the International LT rewards you with increased speed. It's a little extra motivation to keep you pushing for better fuel economy. After a long drive, you're ready for a well-deserved break. With the International LT, you can enjoy your rest period in absolute comfort. Thanks to its auxiliary power unit, you can keep the driver's cabin heated or cooled just the way you like it. No matter the weather outside, you'll always find your sweet spot within our International LTs. The International LT understands that comfort extends beyond driving. It's a space where you can truly feel at home. I'm a big guy, and I have room to move around in here. With plenty of room to spare, the International LT accommodates even the tallest drivers. And there's ample storage for all your clothes, cooking essentials, and tools, making life on the road even more convenient. Speaking of cooking, bring along your appliances and don't sacrifice any luxuries thanks to all of our International LTs being equipped with built-in inverters. Dry your hair, make a smoothie, or play a game, all from the comfort of your truck. We take pride in our well-maintained fleet. And if by chance you do come across something wrong on your truck, you're never far from help thanks to our valuable relationship with Penske. With more than 750 brick and mortar Penske shops nationwide, their expert team is always ready to assist you. From routine maintenance to unexpected repairs, they'll get you taken care of and back on the road in no time. And there you have it. Just a few things about this late model International LT that make MVT the place to be.
Welcome back. Welcome back. Thanks for coming back, everybody. So Lissa said that she had a few more questions. So we do have time for more questions. So that is good. Lissa, so if you can go ahead and shoot more questions. I'm hearing myself, Lissa. So can you hit mute or something?
Oh, sorry.
That's
All right. So, a, someone asked about the importance of mental health as well. Like, how does your company prioritize that alongside with having a healthy lifestyle?
Yeah, that gets into that communication piece of what we try to discuss here. The relationship between a driver and the fleet manager is extremely important, and it is not just moving freight from point A to point B. Though that's important, it pays my paycheck. I'm happy when that takes place. At the end of the day, being able to talk about work problems, being able to talk about personal problems, being able to work through some of the complications that take place on the road. Um, Drivers can have a very lonely existence when things don't go right. And the truck can be a bit of a cavern where the mind works against itself. And so being able to talk to your coworkers, we want to know, do you enjoy the job? Do you enjoy the customers? Are you going through anything right now that we need to know about in the future? So, as an example, maybe you're having marital problems and it's important that you get home. Maybe your kids aren't doing so well. Maybe it's a case of, hey, I'm burnt out. I've ran hard, never taken a vacation in the last 5 years. I need some time off. Um, this is, I guess I'll steal from Planet Fitness, a no judgment zone. We want to know those things. And so we talk to drivers. A, first and foremost, feel free to talk to people. And B, understand that ultimately, look, I'm going to be much more successful if you're still working for me 3, 4, 5 years down the road instead of a month. If it
Yeah.
means that you need an extra couple of days at home, if it means that, hey, maybe we need to put you on a different division because of something that you can't do or don't want to do on another division. The big thing is having that relationship with the fleet manager as well as having outlets beyond just the fleet manager. And the second piece of that is having empathy. As a company that was founded by a former driver, as having an operational team that still has a bunch of CDLs, having people that understand the livelihood of a driver and their unique scenarios that they face becomes really, really important. Me having a CDL as a VP of recruiting, not so much. It'd be cool to have, but it's not really a big deal. The fleet manager or people on the operational side of the floor and someone in safety, having that ability to relate and understand what you go to on the road becomes really important. So the biggest piece of that comes down to empathy and having people that have been in your shoes and have done what you do.
Okay, awesome. Another question: how do you, if you have a driver that 6, 7 months experience, or it's a driver is not as tenured as somebody 3 to 5 years experience, how do you help them find truck parking? Because right now we know truck parking is an issue, and it also relates to safety when we talk about female drivers.
Yep.
So
It's
how do you tackle that?
It's less of an issue for us than it is at most carriers. A, because of the engineered lanes that we run, they're most likely near an available spot, so they're not going to be parking out on the road. If they do park on the road or get fuel on the road, we generally go through Love's, which has very secure lots, well lit. It's one of the reasons why we prefer them as a vendor, because that goes into it beyond just the cost of what fuel costs. The second part of that equation is most of our lanes go into either secured drop yards or flat out large scale terminals that we have. So that's the other advantage of those engineered lanes. We're not running into areas that we don't have those facilities available, excluding Division 220 just because of length of haul. So as an example, if you're on Division, let's say 150, you're going to places that we have drop yards every time. You're maybe originating out of Dallas, Fort Worth, where you're parking the truck and then going home. From there, you might be going to Nashville, where we have a terminal. You're going to see people. It's a secured lot. Your belongings are secure. You might be going to a drop yard in Jacksonville. At Jacksonville, we don't have a person there, but it's a secure yard. It is locked, and people do not go in and out of that do not belong on that yard. So the key caveat to that is making sure that you have access to facilities and areas that are safe and secure. Be it woman or man, we both have the same concerns. When you're going down the road and you may have $500,000 worth of freight in your trailer, you have security concerns at that moment. I will tell everybody as an example, we hire for a division specifically 440 out of Memphis. Memphis is the city in the U.S. with the highest concentration of trailer thefts.
Yes.
That is a scary time. having a secure area to park and feel comfortable in Memphis becomes very important. It's home of FedEx, and there's a ton of freight out of Memphis, so it's not like you can avoid the city. But on the flip side of it, you want to be safe and secure when you're in that city, not be worried about being a target on your back because you have a high expensive load. So we set up loads and we set up customers in operating areas where we have those facilities where you'd be stopping.
Yeah, that's a really big perk because as a driver, you hear a lot of drivers talk about that, the anxiety when it comes to truck parking, because it's more than just, oh, I got to find somewhere to sleep. It really comes down to safety.
Yep.
Safety comes down to anxiety. So when Alyssa brought up the question about mental health and things like that, that just kind of jarred my memory. When it comes to what drivers really, that's really an issue. When it comes to parking, it's safety.
Yep. And you do not want to be in, and we've all seen it, the person that's basically sleeping for the night on the on or off ramp of an interstate.
Yeah.
The likelihood you may get hit by somebody, there is no help at that off ramp. God forbid. 98% of people are good in this world, but there's 2% that, for lack of a better term, are assholes. And we have to live around that 2%.
Yes.
You want to be in an area that the 2% can't mess with you, and you want to be in an area that you have amenities available to you. So if you have to go to the restroom, if you have to do laundry, if you have to do something that's outside the truck, you can do it safely without having to watch out for the 2%.
Absolutely. Lissa, do you have another question?
Well, since we're on the topic of safety, how do you also prioritize sleep? Because that, ties into being safe, making sure they have enough sleep as well.
Yeah. We don't operate illegally, so that's the big thing, and that is something I have to point out. Even in the world of e-logs, we have some people that will push drivers to do things that are fudgy, and it doesn't always catch up with somebody really quickly, but it does from a safety perspective. The second piece of that is we are very open and transparent about our divisions, how they operate, how they run. So as an example, our division 400, where we're always looking for folks out of Nashville, technically every week I could include it as a hot job. That division's mainly nighttime driving. We're very honest and transparent about that. There's certain folks that cannot drive at night. They may have an eye issue. They may have an issue that they just don't feel safe doing it. There's other drivers that prefer it and enjoy driving at night because there's fewer pedestrians out on the streets and fewer cars that they have to compete in the lanes with. But we're open and honest about what our divisions are, what they do, how they operate in detail. And if anything, we're going to continue to expand and describe the divisions for folks as we go on. Lastly, and the biggest part of that is if you're tired, say something. I know everybody wants to be, no one wants to show weakness. Nobody wants to show that they can't do what the person next to them does. Talk to us. We want to know if you're able to operate your motor vehicle safely, be it for sleep, be it for weather conditions, traffic conditions, road conditions. That's where that communication comes in key so that we can make sure that you and our freight is safe in the long run.
Awesome. Lissa, I think we have time for like one or two more questions. Did you have any?
We can ask, so how do you handle driver family emergencies when drivers are on the road?
Yeah. The advantage of our engineered lanes is you're never really too far from home, including the job that we're going to talk about next week specifically. But with that said, that communication becomes really pivotal on that. And I can't emphasize enough. If something's going on at home, talk to your fleet manager about it. Get them involved in the process. Understand what's coming up. Be it something that you can plan for well in advance, like a doctor's visit, or be it something that, hey, somebody had a medical emergency and I need to get home. That communication becomes really important to us. We have the ability, as an example, where you're going from point A to point B. We might be able to stop in the middle at one of our facilities, have you drop the load, go ahead and head to the house, and then have one of the other drivers do what's called T-call on the load so that they can continue and ultimately get to the customer. The key caveat that comes down to communication. If you don't communicate with us and at the last minute, hey, this happened 2 days ago, now I need to address it, let that call take place the 2 days earlier when it actually happens. You'd be surprised some of the solutions that could be figured out to make sure that you get home. Normally, most times, if a driver says, I had to quit because I just had a family issue at home, that conversation took place. That phone call did not take place until it was too late, and they already determined, I'm going to have to do it this way. Have the conversation, let us come up with a solution, allow us the opportunity to come up with that solution.
Yeah, communication is very important. Another key term that we keep talking about, communication, professionalism, the whole thing is just, I feel like a broken record here, but that's definitely what it is. Okay, awesome. Well, y'all, thank you again. Thank you again. If you're interested in any of the jobs that we spoke about or any other jobs, period, definitely give us a call here at Rig on Wheels at 281-968-3100, 281-968-3100, or go to the website and fill out a Rig on Wheels app at rigonwheels.com, and we'll definitely get everything filled out and send it over to MVT. Make sure that we cross all the T's and dot all the I's. And we remember we'll be live again on Tuesday at 3 p.m. Central Standard Time, whichever platform that we see you on. You got something else to say, Pearson?
No, I'm a happy camper. I like talking to folks.
Okay, thanks everybody. Bye.